Guys, they actually did it. Final Fantasy XIV Mobile is real, as earlier this week we finally got confirmation that this mobile version was being worked on by Lightspeed Studios and Tencent Games. An entirely built from the ground up version of Final Fantasy XIV that would purely cater to the mobile market, meaning that this is a separate version from the original game. 4 months ago I made a video on this exact same topic, but the reaction to that was very mixed because of the thought of having this mobile version of Final Fantasy XIV. But the fact of the matter is that depending on how well this does, this could be huge for the game. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe because this is going to be an interesting one to talk about. So as previously said, Final Fantasy XIV Mobile is being headed by Tencent Games and Lightspeed Studios, with Lightspeed Studios being one of the most successful mobile game studios out there and really just game studios in general, with Tencent being one of the biggest companies in the world by revenue. And among the biggest titles that Lightspeed Studios has created is PUBG Mobile. I mean, I don't think I have to explain how big this game is on the mobile market, with the game seeing 30 million daily active users as of 2024 and 700,000 plus concurrent players as of this month. So you know, Lightspeed Studios is no stranger to making very successful games, especially on mobile. The director and producer of Final Fantasy XIV, Yoshi P, pretty much goes over all of the details we need to know about the game and how it differentiates itself from the original online game. First off, the important thing to know here is that the game will not contain a gacha system like a lot of the mobile games on the market do now. For a lot of these mobile games, it is very easy to just incorporate a gacha system or any form of monetization like an in-game store, right? It's a very standard practice that you see everywhere, especially when it comes to the mobile market. And Yoshi P explains that even further here.
ビジネスモデルの一つだっていう認識をしながら作ってゲームデザインも含めて作っていくものですが、今回も当然ですがめちゃくちゃ、気にしてます。というのもやっぱり元々の14がサブスクリプションベースで作られているゲームなので、それをやっぱりモバイル市場、モバイルユーザーに届けるためにはやっぱり主力であるフリートゥープレイにしていく必要がある。じゃあそうなってくるとマネタイズどうするんだっていうポイントが出てきます。ただ最初の段階からライトスピードの皆さんから提案があったものっていうのは、ものすごい数の例えばガチャを回してもらってとにかくお金を稼ぎましょうみたいな提案ではなくて、14を原作リスペクトしながらモバイル以上にどれだけ長く遊んでもらうかっていうことを意識したデザインで最初から提案をしていただいているので、僕らとしてはとにかく一人のお客様が長くね14を楽しんでもらえるように少しのお金をいただきながらたくさんの人で遊んでもらうっていうマネタイズになっているので、ぜひそこはですねあまり心配なさらずに思い切って楽しんでいただければ、僕らとしては嬉しいところになってます。
So, you know, while it would be easy to incorporate like a subscription model or anything that they have for the original game, it's just simply not an option because they have to compete with those other games. And though we didn't get an actual answer from Yoshi P as to what their monetization model is going to be, he did mention that their plan is to have players play for as long as they can. So maybe part of that monetization will come from a system that rewards grinding and playing for a long period of time. Although another solution to this would be to add the MOG station that they use for the original game and just to incorporate that here. I mean, the Final Fantasy XIV fanbase will literally buy anything in the MOG station if you literally release it, so yeah, I think that the MOG station is definitely one thing that they should absolutely consider putting into the mobile version here, but I honestly think that it's one thing that they kind of have to add anyway if they want people to, you know, have more characters or, you know, change their appearances and buy Fantas. I mean, that's what the MOG station is for.
バトルシステム、それからジョブのデザインに関しては当然モバイルユーザー、スマートデバイスで遊ぶのに適した内容にする必要があるので、全てのアクション、ジョブアクションに関しては調整をしっかりモバイル用にさせていただいてます。それからですね、当然マルチプレイをしていく上で、例えばタイタン、極タイタンみたいなものに挑戦する時っていうのは、インターフェースがスマートデバイスのタッチメインにバーチャルスティックみたいなもので遊んでいくことになるので、それに適したアクション数だったりアクション内容だったりっていうものに全て調整してあります。でコンテンツのギミック一つ一つも モバイル用でエキサイトできるように一個一個全てのバトルコンテンツに対して調整を入れていってるので、こちらに関しては、14チームのバトルシステムチーム、それからコンテンツデザインチームっていうのが完全監修アルファベータとずっとやらせていただいているので、そこに関してはぜひモバイルで最大限楽しめる内容になっていると思いますので、期待してお待ちください。
When it comes to gameplay and how, the combat will work, the controls are going to be completely optimized for smartphone devices. Whether that's going to be on controller or touchscreen, I don't know if there's going to be controller support yet, but I would guess that there will be. This is going to be an extremely exciting and interesting thing to see play out as we get to see more of the game. Because Final Fantasy XIV's combat system, specifically when you get to the latter stages of the game, can get really, really complex. The amount of keys that you start pressing, especially way later into the game with all of the expansions and different battles that you go through, it's really intense. It gets to the point where even the actions don't fit on the keyboard, so the developers had to come up with a way to fit multiple actions on the same key, right? And I think that's going to be another solution that they use for mobile devices, right? Where they fit multiple actions on the same key or press, especially on a smaller screen like a phone. Is going to be extremely difficult to fit all of those actions on there. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the game eventually plays and if they use that solution and putting multiple actions on a single press in order to save space, right? Additionally, the flow of battle and how different battles will generally work will kind of be different from the original game. And it does make sense given that you're playing on a smaller screen and the way you're moving is going to be different from how it is on PC or console. Adjusting things like battle mechanics and how the enemy reacts to the party is going to be expected, and adjusting that flow to battles in order to fit how people play on mobile compared to PC and console I think is going to be much needed. Battles aren't really that hard in A Realm Reborn, and I could definitely see people just completing them with ease even on a touchscreen device. But when you get to those later expansions with raids and extremes and all of that good stuff, I think adjustments to how those battles will play out and how that flows with mobile gameplay will be really interesting to see.
はい、もちろんです。ものすごいスピードで本当ね、ライトスピードの皆さんの技術力ちょっと信じられないぐらいすごくてですね、ものすごい勢いでコンテンツどんどん、モバイル版として実装してってくれてるんですけど、当然クラフターもギャザラーも、しかもそれがちゃんとね、プレイスタイルに合わせて、モバイルユーザーでも楽しめる内容に調整しながら全て実装されてますし、もちろんゴールド操作、それからトリプルトライアドなんかもモバイル用にアレンジされた状態でしっかり実装進んでおりますので、ぜひですねバトル以外の要素、14ってやっぱりその世界で暮らすっていう部分もすごく楽しいゲームなので、そちらに関してもかなり力を入れて開発進んでますので楽しみにしててください。
So the fact that the gold saucer is also going to be implemented in the mobile version is kind of insane, right? With the amount of mini games and instances there are and how many people are playing and just walking around you at once. It's kind of crazy to think that you can have all of that content just on the go while you're playing anywhere, right? Even Triple Triad, which you can just play anywhere you want and, really just the best card game ever, right? But all of this content is going to be free and within the palm of your hand, and to be able to have the gold saucer as well in this version is pretty awesome. And speaking of fitting everything into the palm of your hand, the entire story of Final Fantasy XIV is going to be in the mobile version. Everything, meaning A Realm Reborn all the way to Dawntrail. And this is crazy to hear, because Final Fantasy XIV has hundreds of hours of content, and the fact that this is all free kind of just blows my mind. Obviously, not every story is going to be released all at once, and you'll be starting at A Realm Reborn from 2.0 all the way through the patches. But this is actually good, because this way they can slowly get more feedback and information from fans as to what is working and what's not, and slowly building up this mobile version to be a really good mobile game in general. And if the game does well enough and they roll out all of the stories all the way to Dawntrail, this mobile version of Final Fantasy XIV could be one of the best mobile games we have ever seen. But that's wishful thinking. It's also also important to note that Yoshi P did touch on the fact that Final Fantasy XIV Mobile will not drop globally all at once, but first releasing within the mainland of China. And you know, it's going to be understandable that some people are going to be very upset about this, but this is actually a good thing. As I said previously, getting feedback from players is everything. The game will slowly get better and better as they get more feedback on what players are liking and disliking, and by the time that releases to the rest of the world, we'll probably be getting the best version of Final Fantasy XIV that they can provide. It's a win-lose situation since we'll be getting the game later, but we'll actually be getting a better version of Final Fantasy XIV Mobile. But honestly, I see that as a win-win. And at this point in Final Fantasy XIV's lifespan, I was kind of sold on the fact that we would never get a mobile version of Final Fantasy XIV, but here we are. With the game being as old as it is, you can kind of expect that they would be able to fit all of this at once in a mobile game, and the fact that it is free still just blows my mind. And as I said in the beginning of the video, depending on how this mobile version does, this could end up being very big for Final Fantasy XIV going forward. The mobile market is the biggest gaming market there is. It's just a fact that it is the most accessible form of gaming we've ever seen. And the fact that Final Fantasy XIV Mobile is free and provides all of this content and saying everything we want to hear, to me it just makes me even more eager and interested to see this game for myself, because if everything they're saying is true and this ends up being a free mobile game with all of the content that the original game had, I really do believe that this could be one of the biggest and best decisions that Final Fantasy XIV and Creative Studio 3 have ever made. But there you have it, that is everything we have to look forward to in Final Fantasy XIV Mobile so far. Tell me how you guys feel about all of this news overall. Was a mobile version of Final Fantasy XIV what you were expecting? And from everything that we know so far, is this something that you are personally looking forward to? Let me know all of that and more down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one.